On today's podcast, we discuss practices that are effective in moving you towards your goals, how to properly identify a target goal, and why focusing on the dream too much can actually keep you from it. All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning into the Reckless Training Podcast. I'm really excited about our topic today. I'm a planner. I love having a goal, a plan, figuring out what we're doing, ironing out all the details. So this has been really fun to prepare for this podcast, especially since it's the start of 2026. And we're all getting ready for a new year, what we want to achieve within the next 12 months and what that's going to look like. So, I'm excited to talk about the topic. Get everyone prepared.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
TC and I both have also been going through the process of deciding what our goals are for this year, putting together process goals. That's actually something TC recommended because choosing a goal when I was asked was a little daunting.
I think for a lot of people it is.
Yeah.
Whether it's the commitment aspect or the uncertainty of the next year of your life, like whatever it is, I think that there's a lot of reasons that people kind of shy away from making goals, and then they end up in the same place that they were the year before.
Mm-hmm. So I think the idea that you suggested about focusing on the process and specifics in that way actually made me excited. And we know when we have something we're excited about, whether it is a goal or a process or a vacation, moving towards that one thing with clear intent can be motivating.
Yeah.
So,
well, and feeling like you're winning too, right?
Yes.
When you set an outcome goal, you have to wait for so long to reach that goal. Whereas when you set process goals, you get to reach them every single day.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's a good point.
Yeah.
So setting realistic expectations this year is part of why we wanted to set up this podcast and make sure that we have people set up to feel like they're winning. Because if you feel like you're winning, then you're going to keep going, like you said.
Yeah.
If we feel like, it's just taking forever, we're not sure if we're going to get there, motivation wanes, then a lot of times we fall off. So
yeah, which it can be really tough. So it's important to remember that goals definitely still matter, right?
Correct.
We need a form of direction. We need a compass, so to speak. But at the end of the day, our goals are generally emotional. And
yes.
I think that making sure that the systems are in place, right? The process goals, like we were just saying, making sure the systems are in place to bring us towards that goal. At the end of the day, your outcome goal might change.
Yeah.
But the person that you're becoming in reaching for that aspiration, and it's almost like cliche to say at this point, right? It's not the destination, it's the journey, blah, blah, blah. But it's so true. And when you can just really fall in love with the process, man, I just feel like you're going to be way more successful and you're going to be happier too.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. And that's a good point. You talked about goals being emotional because they often are. We get like really excited. I'm going to do this thing.
Yeah. Well, how many times have we heard someone come back from a bodybuilding show and say, I'm ready. I want to compete again this year, coach. Okay, let's go into a prep. And it's like, all right, hang on. We just said we were going to go into a year-long improvement season. What changed? Is this definitely what we want to do?
Exactly. Yeah. So our emotions can drive a lot of the goals that we set. And we also know that emotions, they're not steady. They're going to change on a day-to-day, sometimes hour-to-hour basis.
Whether you're hungry, you're tired,
yeah.
or not.
So our motivation also same thing, same category of it, wanes. And our motivation and our emotions are going to shift. So we need something concrete to hold on to be able to move forward. And we need to know where we're going. So I think it is important to just not just say, I'm going to, be healthy this year.
Yeah.
That's a great start. But we also now need to break that down into being more specific. And I think that's not a foreign concept. A lot of us understand that now. But sometimes I think a too specific of a goal can just be really overwhelming. I'm going to be healthy this year versus I'm going to win a show. I'm going to win a bodybuilding show. Because I think it's important to remember that our outcome goals are out of our control.
Yeah.
Like you don't get to sit in the judge's seat.
Yeah.
You don't get to be the teacher writing the grade on the paper. Like you put in the work, but then other people are the ones that, for the most part, determine like the placement or the outcome. So we have to also realize and come to terms with what we actually can control and what we can't. And when we accept those differences, it does empower us
Yes.
to be able to focus on the things that I actually can do.
Yes, because we don't get upset about situations. We only view the situation objectively in through a lens that is saying, what do I do now? Right? It's not, I wish this was something different. It's just, okay, this is what it is. What do I do now? So, yeah, it's okay. So like you mentioned, I think I want to win a show is a very common goal.
I've made this goal.
Yeah. So what would the alternative be? Like, what would you suggest to someone to focus on who comes to you and says, I want to win a show this year?
Okay. So I wouldn't even make placement part of your goal because it's the sport of bodybuilding is subjective. Really, anytime you have a human being doing judging, there is human error involved. So
An opinion. Yeah.
Yes. So I think placement is, you can say like, I want to be first call outs at nationals or something like that. I think that's very reasonable because that's kind of like a broader goal and making sure that your physique is in line to actually do that. But I think a really easy way to progress, especially if we're thinking about the sport of bodybuilding, is just to make sure every time you get on stage, your physique looks better. And if it doesn't look like it's progressing, that's, we're going to talk about like checkpoints and making sure our processes are actually leading us towards our goal. For me as an athlete, I felt like through my career, I was progressing. And then there got to a point where I was not progressing. And that's where I knew like, okay, I need to like evaluate because this is not the direction I want to go. And I need to make appropriate changes. So yeah, I think like seeing changes show to show is important. And being very, like you said, objective. Like if I'm not seeing changes in my show in 2026 compared to 2025, for example, first of all, was my process efficient and how closely did I follow it? Because we can't always just we can't always blame the process. We also have to look at our adherence to it as well.
Yeah.
So that was a good question.
Yeah. Yeah. Shoot, I was going to say something and it just flew right out of my head.
I'm curious to know like how you set goals.
I think like most people like winning, and as a powerlifter, I think it's a little easier because it's a little more objective. So for my very first competition, I looked at the totals from the previous year, and I said I'm not going to compete until I can do that. And I did, and I went in, I won first place, and I think it was like second or third as far as the best lifter went. Qualified for Raw Nationals. I went in with a plan. I made sure that I knew exactly what I needed to do with that plan. And I think there's different types of people. I love challenging myself and just like pushing myself to the absolute limit.
Yeah.
Trying to do everything possible and trying to prove people wrong. Like everyone says, don't cut weight for your first powerlifting competition. Anyone out there listening, if you haven't wrestled or competed before, don't cut weight for your first powerlifting competition. I have extensive background in training and nutrition and weight loss, and that's what I chose to do. And I cut like 20 pounds, but it was because it helped me dial in. And again, like we were talking about with the process goals, right? On a daily basis, I was doing the things that made me feel like I was going to be successful in my endeavor. So to be honest with you, I don't know that I've ever like thought about it explicitly.
Sure.
I think right now something that we see is like a lot of people talking about how powerlifters and probably any athlete, I think powerlifters especially, just love lifting weights. They just love working out. They just love going to the gym and being in the gym. And I think bodybuilders definitely to a certain extent as well. But again, that goes back to you have to love the process. And that was just me, is I just loved working out. I loved doing my HIIT training. I loved pushing my body to the absolute limit.
What about as a coach? Like, how do you set goals for your powerlifting clients?
Okay, so that's a good question. So we see where they are, and then we see what realistic expectations we can establish for the next year or so.
Okay.
Right. And that for a powerlifter, it's generally going to be numerical. But more often than not, I am telling them to solidify soft gym PRs that they have hit in the past.
Okay.
And that's usually my goal for them, because that
What's
tells.
a soft gym PR?
So recently, we had a 16-year-old hit a 405 touch and go bench press. His butt came off the pad, and it was a pretty healthy arch. It was a definite touch and go. But he moved it.
Okay. Okay.
Right. So now what I get to tell him, that was 405 pounds. Now what I get to tell him is, dude, for us, your competition goal is bringing 365 to the platform.
Okay.
He knows 100% that he can do 365.
Right.
So now it's all it boils down to is continuing to dial that in and to own that weight more and more and more. Right. And it's kind of the same thing for bodybuilding even, right? Like if we know that we need to build this aspect of your physique that can no longer be an ignored weak link, we have to dial in and be thinking about that every single time we're going to the gym to hit it. And we have to be feeling that muscle expand and contract. We have to be feeling everything about that process.
Yeah.
Right. And we have to be so tuned in and dialed in. So it's really just about focus and increasing that focus towards the thing that we want. But if all you're focusing on is an end goal, right? Like someone tells me I want to squat 500 pounds and they're squatting 350 right now. How long? It's probably going to take them a while to get to 500.
Yeah.
And if all they're thinking is, man, I just want to squat 500 pounds. Every time they go in the gym, they squat less than 500 pounds, they're going to be disappointed.
Yeah.
But if you tell them, in order to squat 500 pounds, your bracing has to be on point. Your stabilizer muscles have to be stronger than your primary muscles in that regard. And your movement patterns have to be so exact that no matter what weight is on that bar, we can't see a difference. And that's for bodybuilders and powerlifters. Honestly, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So soft PRs, they're moving the weight, but they don't have the.
That's an ego lift.
They're not going to get white lights.
You're not going to get white lights on a platform.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
and we're probably risking a little bit of injury there.
Okay.
But you know what? Like, what is life without a little bit of risk?
Yeah.
And it shows you that you're capable.
Yes.
It motivates you a little bit, and
a lot of it.
Yeah.
I've seen the videos.
And we just have to be careful with them, right? Like there's a time and a place. It's a tool just like anything else. Look, I didn't have a coach for any of my peaking for my powerlifting. So I never went off schedule, off program, technically. But also technically I didn't necessarily have one. So my programming was a lot of auto regulation, and it was a lot of like gym PRs.
Yeah.
But you have to see what your body is capable of. You have to build that confidence so that when you get onto the platform, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. You know that you're about to perform this weight. And I think that might just be a difference in opinion. I know a lot of people hit PRs on the competition. That's the goal, is to hit PRs on the platform. But unless you're going to a world meet or national meet, and even then, do we really have to hit a PR on the platform, right? We want to hit a competition PR. We want to do just like bodybuilding. We want to do better and better every single time you step on that platform. But going back to the process goals versus the outcome goals, we want to think about getting better over hitting a certain number, I think.
Sure.
Because there was one competition where I took first place, and I think I was 100 kilos or something ahead of the second place person. It was silly.
Wow.
I got the best lifter. That was when you, Dad, and Jovan were there.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't unhappy, but I totaled 50 kilos less than I had totaled 3 weeks prior.
Okay.
I knew that I was capable of more. And I was a little bit disappointed because of the numerical outcome goal expectation.
Okay.
Right? As opposed to the process goal. I still increased my competition total. I still hit PRs in all my lifts. But I wasn't super happy because I could have done better.
Yeah.
So, and I think, again, depending on the athlete, that could be motivating towards you keeping to pursuing your goals.
Yes.
And to others, it can be, well, why even bother?
It is very interesting how people are different. They are motivated differently, and how people handle setbacks.
Yeah.
Because as a coach, that's one thing I've had to learn is people stepping off stage. I got to know my athlete. Because some people, they need reassurance. Some people, they just want me to be like crazy hype. Other people need to know like it's okay, and then they can go take time to themselves to decompress. Some people take a couple days, and then we need to, and they're not unhappy, but it just, I think that's for me as well. It takes me a couple days to like process what I've done, what the day has brought, and then make a decision like what I want to do moving forward. So
yeah. And then again, it's just encouraging them towards those process goals, right? It's get back on track. And now it's a different chapter. We might have different focal points, but it's still process goals.
Yes.
And that's, just like we were talking bodybuilding and powerlifting, it's what can I do today? What can I do this week? What do I have to do to bring me towards my goal? If you see yourself as the number one powerlifter in the world, what does that person do? What does that person's life look like that you should be living?
Yeah. I actually want to dive a little bit deeper into that, but I think an important note that you brought up is thinking about, you were saying, I was thinking about my total, and I was disappointed that I hadn't, I hadn't gotten there, I hadn't achieved that. Or you were talking about the person who says, I want to squat 500 pounds. Every time I go to the gym, I'm not squatting 500 pounds, so I'm not doing what I said that I want to do. I actually listened to a podcast. I don't remember exactly the host that was on the podcast, but Dr. Huberman was interviewing her, and they talked about how imagining your victory in achieving this goal too much can actually be detrimental, which I thought was very interesting, because we are taught to make a vision board, to visualize, to like live in that moment as much as possible so that we are manifesting it. But they actually did some research, and that people who were focusing so much on what it felt like to achieve that goal actually had lower systolic blood pressure, which systolic blood pressure is helpful in giving us motivation to go do something. So they were actually lowering their own motivation, I guess you could loosely say that, by focusing so much on how it felt to like step on that stage, like get that award, buy the house, like whatever it was. They actually started it actually decreased some of their motivation. And similarly, if you have someone they gave the example of, you should write a book. And you have like 10 people telling you should write a book. You'd be so great at writing a book. I would read your book, blah, blah, blah. You're now collecting all of that validation that comes from the process of actually writing the book, and you haven't even done the process yet. So you've like skipped over the hard work part, so to speak, and now you're accepting all of this validation. So it's less motivating for you to actually go through now you're going backwards. Now I have to go through the uncomfortable part of like setting myself down at the computer, trying to put my thoughts into a readable format, spending the hours sitting there, getting it accepted or whatever. You've kind of like gotten the dessert before you're eating your vegetables, I guess.
And I kind of wonder, so I've never visualized the result.
I don't know that I have either.
And like what you were describing just then is like you said, the feeling of winning.
Yeah.
That's never what I visualize. And in all fairness, it's not what I encourage people to visualize. I tell them to, especially powerlifters, I tell them to visualize themselves performing that weight or more than that weight so that they know they're capable to build confidence. And I just kind of wonder how that plays into that research, because I feel like building confidence to know that you're capable of doing something.
See, but I think that would be beneficial.
Yeah, exactly. It's a little but it's similar, but it's a different perspective, which is a lot of what we coach, right? It's just perspective and like mentality and self-talk and being intentional with what we're saying and doing.
Because I think that there is, so like, if you are visualizing accepting an award on stage, like there's a process of discomfort that leads up to that. But if you're trying to hit a PR, you're trying to move a specific amount of weight, there is like more acute emotions or self-doubt or fear, I think that's linked to that actual action. And like if I'm gonna hit a PR, I think I'm gonna die, or I'm this is really scary. Like I have like restrictive thoughts. Where if you're accepting a award on stage, like that doesn't really
there's
you're not
nothing
doing anything. You're letting the outcome be what it is. But if you're actually in the act of doing something, I think visualization is putting more reps, which build confidence.
Yeah.
And that's why I think visualization can be very helpful, because I've used it for posing as well. Thinking about how I look on stage to kind of take away some jitters, so that I'm like, I've already done this in my head.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting point of the outcome versus like visualizing the process, maybe.
Yeah, because you're not winning anything when you visualize your posing.
No.
You're not winning anything.
No,
You're just
no.
visualizing it happening.
I'm just comfortable when I'm doing it in my brain.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. It's interesting. Okay, sorry.
No, that's good. So that you did mention some questions like, what am I doing today? What am I doing this week? What would a disciplined elite version of me do? I think those are great questions to ask because you can break them down.
Oh, I want to say, so I like think of things and I forget them, and then they sometimes they come back. So like a lot of my visualization, what would a healthy, disciplined elite version of me do? A lot of my visualization is me seeing how I want other people to see me. And to be an elite athlete, you have to be the hardest worker in the room. You have to not complain about anything.
Yes.
You have to be emotionally immovable, and visualizing that character, I think, has helped my training immensely, because when I go into the gym, that's who I am visualizing.
I would agree.
It's almost like a Superman phone booth switch, right? Like the rest of the day you can be joking, laughing, and kidding around, or working your ass off in a field or in a research lab. But as soon as you hit that gym, you are that elite athlete, and that is who everyone sees you as.
Which, tell people what you do with your shirt.
I tuck my shirt in when I go to the gym.
I don't know if we mentioned this in the podcast yet, but and why? Why do you? Because you wear a tank top and shorts.
Yeah,
Let's
it might
paint
look
the picture.
So, and they're usually pretty short shorts, not like like runner shorts, but
They're not. They're just not like basketball shorts.
yeah, they're above
They're
knees.
appropriate.
Yeah, I tuck my shirt in. I was taught growing up that you tuck your shirt in for a couple different occasions, whether either you are dressing up to go to church, or you're dressing up for a formal function, or to go to work. And you need to look presentable when you go to work. You're there to do a job. You're not there to be fashionable. You're not there. You're there to do something specific. And it used to just be putting my headphones on would put me in that state of mind. But then you start to realize that you get higher and higher in your training and your aspirations, and that's not enough. You have to completely personify the character that you want to be. You have to know exactly what athlete you want to be, and you have to perpetually be thinking about being that person.
So he means business.
Yeah.
Tucks his shirt in. He means business in the gym.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember asking you, and you said, I feel like I've seen a couple people tucking their shirts in like I do at the gym. I'm like, why do you tuck your shirt in? He said, I'm there to work.
She said it's because it made my butt look bigger.
He's always trying to compete with me. No, there's no competition. TC has great glutes.
I just have bigger hips. So no, not fair.
But yeah, I think that is a good point. And so like asking, I think that's an important aspect, is like what
Comes back to focus too.
What would this person do? Yeah. I have in past preps, like, okay, I don't really want to do this right now. Like I'm being super lazy. I'm cutting corners. What would the actual like best version of me be doing right now? Well, not this.
Yep.
And so I check myself. But man, it takes, I think, slowing down enough. And I think that's going to be an important theme of this, to like do some of the reflection and evaluation to make sure that you are still moving, and that we're not just being busy. We're not just on a hamster wheel going crazy. We're being very intentional with what we're doing to move into the direction we want to go. because we only get so much time. And goals take time.
Yeah, and being intentional with that. So I think that parlays pretty nicely into this next section. I want to just read off a couple bullet points that you have iterated here so that we can kind of discuss them. So the headline is Habits Create Identity. One of the bullets is beliefs form identity and repeated behaviors create beliefs. So repeated behaviors create beliefs. Beliefs form identity. But identity often lags behind behavior because of that, right? So you have to have the repeated beliefs first in order to create your identity. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and how like, well, you were just talking about yourself in prep, right? And sometimes we don't we don't feel like doing something necessarily, right? So do you want to talk about that correlation there and how we can kind of change that belief in ourselves?
I just complained to you. I don't want to do this. No, I think, I get your point. I do think identity is a big part of us choosing our goals. And it is a very big part of us sticking with the process that moves us towards our goals. I also believe that the process that we repeat helps define who we are too. So identity, you can see, is like sprinkled out throughout the whole goal setting and a goal achieving process. So I think, I don't know if I'm going to answer your question, but I'm going to go along this line of thought.
Go ahead.
I know in the past, like for me, I followed a process. I didn't necessarily believe anything about myself. I really leaned on the belief of another person to move me towards those goals. And temporarily, that was great because I just had to do what I was supposed to do, listen about how great I was, and then I would just continue to move forward because that person's confidence did help like grow some of my own self-belief. Mm-hmm. I was trusting, what was being told to me. I have also experienced where I am completely reliant on my own beliefs about myself because there is no one there to tell me you're great, or I can feel that someone doesn't have belief in me, but they're going through the process of trying to help me get there anyways. So I think that in order for an athlete to be successful at higher levels, you do have to have some type of belief in yourself. Mm-hmm. You can't just be like, I'm a piece of crap, like I'll never get there, I don't know what I'm doing. Like you do have to tell yourself like, no, I am capable. And even if it's that, like I am capable. There is more for me to unlock as an athlete in this sport. I don't have to be so-and-so, insert name, but I can be the best Chris Nicole athlete that I know to be. And then that's what kind of brings us back to our process goals. And then what you repeatedly do is who you are. So and that's where I would prompt people to think like, what do you say? Like what comes out of your mouth? Are you always complaining? Are you always seeing the negative side of things? Are you always bashing other people or gossiping? Like is toxicity coming from your mouth on a regular basis? Because that is a reflection of who you are. And the great part is you get to make choices about what you speak and what you say. It doesn't have to be whatever falls into your head comes out of your mouth. You can choose. And then the second question is, what do you think? So same lines. Are you always thinking like, oh, this is like the worst case scenario. I can't believe this is happening. Or I'm not going to achieve anything. Like I'm stupid. Whatever. Like, do you have those thought patterns in your head? Or you think like everyone else is a piece of crap because now you've just shown the piece of yourself that thinks that you're better than everyone. So like, what are you saying? What are you thinking? And evaluating those things. And then what are you doing? Because they all it's a nice triangle that kind of all builds off of each other. So if I think that I can't lose weight and I'm super fat and I'm going to adopt the identity of I'm overweight, or I'm too fat, or like I'm incapable, and then my actions are going to reflect that. So
because they're excused.
yes, because I'm living the identity that I've
Yeah. Well, I'm just a fatty
adopted.
anyway, so I'm going to eat this candy bar. I can't lose weight anyway, so I'm
Yes.
going to eat this candy bar.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
that's why.
Yes. Yes. So I think it's just important to like do some self-reflection too. I've found that like I've taken a couple years from competing to do a lot of like self-reflection. Like, what do I actually want? And what am I capable of?
If I may,
Go ahead.
I believe I've also seen these theories kind of put into place in your life, right? So I've seen you, like you said, have someone tell you what to do through your prep, and you were doing it because of that other person's belief in you, and they're telling you to do this. There wasn't very much questioning, if any at all.
No questioning.
And
I'm a follow directions.
yeah, which literally means no auto-regulation.
Yes.
Which also literally means that your progress can't be as efficient as possible.
Correct.
And since then, you track your food every day. For the vast majority of the days, you know how much, at least how much protein you got. You work out on a consistent basis. You do all of the steps towards being an athlete. And I think that now at this point, you see yourself as an athlete. Whereas back then, when even right after you won your pro card, I don't think that you necessarily saw yourself as a bodybuilder. And you may have even thought that you did, right? But seeing how your mentality has adapted over the years and seeing how it's grown and how your confidence in yourself and your own opinion about things from an athlete perspective has changed and grown, I think has been a very powerful support.
I think it helps like take responsibility.
Yeah.
Like,
And that's in anything in life. If you take personal responsibility for what you're going through or what's happening in your life, then you're going to come out better. Whereas if you're constantly pointing fingers, you're going to be coach jumping. You're never going to reach your goals. You're not going to be happy. You're going to be a victim. The whole world's going to be against you.
Yeah. Definitely taking responsibility has been helpful, and making my own like decisions with having room to do that too.
Yes.
Like having room to be like, okay, what do I actually want? Not just what does everyone want from me or me to be.
Yes.
So yeah, I think taking some time for self-reflection is really helpful, which our brains are wired to avoid discomfort. Like no one likes being uncomfortable. I mean, maybe TC, but the rest of us, the 99% of the rest of us, we don't like being comfortable. But you will see people that will just keep themselves very busy because they're like, well, all of these things I need to get done, so I'm just going to keep going. Or we can get so overwhelmed, which happens to me. I get so overwhelmed by things that I just stop doing anything because I'm like, I don't even know where to start. And I think it's the whole analogy of stopping to sharpen the axe.
Yes.
I think social media is also a big one that kind of pulls away that extra time that we could be using to have some self-reflection. And we're spending a lot of time on there just...
It's time and motivation because it gives you that dopamine hit. So you no longer have the desire to go out and do things that give you a sense of accomplishment, that give you a dopamine hit, right?
Yeah.
Like it's crazy. On our website, we have comfort and contentedness are the enemies of progress. And it's true.
Yeah.
And I know that I put that on there and not you, but it's very true, right? Like you don't grow in comfort. No one has ever grown in comfort.
That's 100% true.
Yeah. The only things that make you grow are uncomfortable. And I know a lot of people say, it's not what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. It's adapting from that. Yeah, but that's the point. Like that's what that saying is saying, right? It's that things that happen to us that are uncomfortable cause us to grow in certain ways that make us better at the end of the day.
Yes. So my encouragement would be to anyone listening is set aside like an hour, or I don't know, if you want to set aside like one time a week or 20 minutes every evening or something like that, to just like take some time to unplug from everything and just think. We don't take time to stop and to think anymore.
Yeah. Start with 5 minutes a day.
What do I want? And ask yourself questions. If you're like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be thinking about, just ask yourself questions. Like, who do I want to be? What does the elite level Chris Nicole do? What does her daily actions look like? How does she carry herself? What confidence does she bring? Like, what does her morning routine look like? You can just start with simple things like that to figure out what you want, but you have to take some time. And I think we're always looking for other people to tell us what we're supposed to be doing. That we don't even have the room to make those decisions for ourselves. So.
Yeah. I would even, I think for some people that might even be a little stressful, right? Because if they feel like their life is so hectic that there's no chance that they can do what this elite level person would be doing.
Yeah.
I can see how it would be stressful. I think that a very good entry point would be to spend 2 to 5 minutes a day and just sit down with the intent of focusing on breathing and then observe what thoughts come into your head. It has been multiple times now that Chris or I have been disgruntled about something else and we've gotten into a disagreement about some silly little thing that's completely unrelated because we're feeling a certain way about this other thing. And we're completely unaware because we're moving so fast and just trying to stay busy, which there's a difference between busy and productive. We're just trying to stay busy that we are not able to sit and like digest these things and move past them. So you just sit, focus on your breathing. Your like meditation, when it was first described to me, it was like clear your mind of all your thoughts. And I'm like, that's never going to happen. That's literally impossible for me.
His brain is too big.
If my mouth is not moving, my brain is. I can guarantee that there's something going on.
Yeah.
So I read the book Mindful Athlete by George Mumford, I think it is. And the way he describes meditation is just focusing on your breathing. And he says, you're a human being. You're going to be thinking about other stuff. That's perfectly fine. Let it drift a little bit. Follow that train of thought and then bring your focus back to your breathing. And when you've realized that you're focusing on your breathing for like 10 inhale and exhales and your mind is at ease, now we can start feeling that out the rest of your body and seeing what it feels like, seeing where there's tight spots, seeing what we can relax while we're either sitting there or lying down or wherever you're doing this. And now we're starting to gain control over our body, over our breathing process, over our tightness, our activity, right? Our muscular activity, which is like the tension that we can hold because of stress. And then we can start to say, okay, now I'm in a good place. I'm in a good baseline. Let's fuck some shit up. So
I do think you get to choose your thoughts. And that's an important part also of like slowing down to be able to say like, what am I actually thinking?
But it's hard sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like getting out of a loop of, oh, this sucks. Or whatever, right? Like, like in being intentional.
Insanity,
I'm overwhelmed.
Yes.
Being intentional with how you verbalize things to yourself so that you're not hamstringing yourself.
Right. Well, what you repeatedly do, like it sticks with you. Yeah. So if you have just kind of adopted a certain thought, and it's no one's fault. I think most people just, and myself included, like I remember starting to think about like, what am I actually thinking about? Well, that's a negative thought. And the first part was like trying to identify it when it was happening. And it was so hard for me to do because I'm like, no, this is just my brain. Like, this doesn't make sense. Now I can notice like, okay, I'm thinking something like negative because I'm frustrated because TC's not doing something that I think he should read my brain and know how to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I have to like stop myself and be like, well, that's silly for me to be mad at him about that. Like, I should ask. Or he also has done like 10 other things that I needed done today. Like just to be able to like kind of pause for a second, reset and think about what you're thinking about. Because if you can catch it on the onset, then you'll not be like down this road of an hour being angry and creating issue. But yeah, my parents gave me advice one time and my mom said, no, it was my dad. It was my dad. He was like, there would be times where your mother would move things, like move stuff off the table. And I had put stuff there on purpose. And I would try and find this. He said a pencil. He said, I would try and find this pencil. And I'd be like, where is this pencil? I need this pencil. He'd be all grumbly and all upset. Like, why'd she move my pencil? She's always trying to clean up my piles. And I remember this as a child too. And he'd be like so grumpy. Later on, they'd get into an argument or something like that, and he'd bring up like, "You moved my pencil," and he said, "Chris, just remember, like, it's rarely ever about the pencil. It's about I had a bad day. I felt disrespected by my boss. This project didn't go really well. I sat in traffic on 95. I didn't sleep good the night before. It was not about your mother moving the pencil." So I've thought about that a lot where I'm like, okay, this isn't about the pencil. But you can't know until you slow down to actually think about it. Because in that moment, you're like, I am very angry that I can't find what I put in this exact spot.
Yeah. You got to sit in that discomfort.
Yes.
And see what is happening.
Yes. And that's, I think, an important part is like we avoid discomfort. So we try to like fill it with social media. We try and fill it with comforting things, a piece of cake or whatever makes us feel like comfortable. When we actually need to like sit in that situation of discomfort to actually figure out what the problem is and then be able to figure out the solution to it. So we can progress and move forward, like you said, growing from periods of discomfort.
Yeah. Because like if you don't know what the problem is, you don't know how to fix it.
Yeah.
This morning I was super grumpy.
Yeah.
And I had to just sit and pause for 5 minutes. And
you did a great job.
you move on.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes it's tough. I want to just be grumpy. I want to say I don't want to do this. I want to say a lot of things this morning. And sometimes you just got to hold your tongue and say, I'm being unreasonable.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very hard thing for human beings to say.
Yes. Yes.
To admit, I'm being unreasonable right now. I appreciate you being patient with me.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're kind of getting a little bit off topic. Not really. I mean, I think it's like you said, it's very important to know where these feelings are coming from so that we can continue to move forward with our daily process goals so that we don't have to think about like how these emotions are affecting us. And now I don't feel like going to the gym today because I'm pissed off about this.
Yes.
So,
well, I think an important part too is to think about your 3 top values.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So
yeah, sure.
if you're setting a goal and you're setting up this process, just make sure it aligns with your 3 top. You can have 10 values. I don't care how many values you have, but your 3 top ones should be immovable. So if that's family, your athletic endeavors, and your career endeavors, like making sure that everything else can kind of fluctuate, but your process goals are set up to be successful in those things. And those are kind of the 3 goals that we have set for this year to
in that order, pretty much.
To get in alignment, yes, because we have been busy in the past, and things have just not been in alignment, which creates more issues on top of it. So writing down your values, I think, is a good start. Thinking about like your identity and yourself, and then setting your goals from those aspects.
Yeah, and having periods of reevaluation.
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like.
Yeah, you definitely need to do that.
So.
Yeah. So let's talk about setting up systems.
Okay.
So a lot of times sorry, I should talk to this microphone. A lot of times our systems are not working, not necessarily because we're not disciplined or we're not motivated. A lot of times it's because we are working within a system that's flawed. Like it's just not working. And I'll be very honest, since the beginning of the year, TC and I have tried to set up several systems in place. And some of it is catching and working, some of it is not. And that's why it's like, it's okay. Like, don't be like, oh my gosh, I made this decision. Now it's not happening. You're going to need to constantly reevaluate and see what is actually going to stay. Now, you do need to be disciplined. You can't just be like, well, I didn't feel like going to the gym.
Yeah.
But I want to be a top 5. I want to be an elite athlete, but I'm not going to go to the gym when I don't feel like it. There's some things that have to be non-negotiables. The other things can be flexible because they're, still your core values are aligned, so your processes are still moving towards that, but there's other things that can be a little bit flexible. I know that wasn't really clear, but hopefully you get the message.
Yeah, it makes sense. I think it's important to remember that as life changes, you need to consistently reevaluate your systems to make sure that they're still working for you.
Yes.
We travel around a lot, and sometimes it's conducive for me to get up at 5 a.m. and go to the gym.
Yes.
And then come back and have breakfast, and then you go to the gym. Sometimes we have to drive 45 minutes to get to a gym that you don't have a membership at, and you can only go because you're my guest. And generally speaking, it's going to be more efficient for us to go together. But still, again, sometimes it's going to be beneficial for us to go separately. So like these are things that sometimes you have to have some looser process goals, right? Like just waking up at a certain time when you're in certain locations. Making sure that you're getting 3 or 4 protein meals per day.
Yeah.
Like sometimes these things are going to be looser than they are during like a bodybuilding competition prep where you have to count every single calorie and every single step to make sure that your stress mitigation is on point. When we're just like kind of setting up our lifestyle, we want something that is sustainable for the long term, not for a bodybuilding prep. So we want to make sure that they're slightly loose so that they're able to be maintained no matter what's happening in your life, but firm and specific enough to where you know whether or not you hit that process goal.
Well, I think adjusting is kind of what you're saying. So like let's use like concrete examples. We know we need to go to the gym. You need to go to the gym every day. I could go 6 times. I could take one day. Not TC needs to go to the gym every day for everyone's safety.
Notification.
So we know that wherever we are, whether it's Washington, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, there needs to be that needs to be part of the routine. And what that looks like is going to be different because, like you said, sometimes we both have to get up at a compromised morning time and go to the gym and then align the rest of our day around that. Or we can have separate morning routines and then have the rest of the day align it. So it's like what we have access to and our resources. So I think anyone who's traveling or their schedule is constantly shifting and changing, the best suggestion I could give for you is ahead of time, figure out what that's going to look like. And I have people that do that. They're traveling nurses and they're like, okay, I like scanned out or I looked around. I found this gym that's close to my hotel. My hotel has, this capability, that capability. You're going to be at work for these specific amount of hours. You're going to have to commute these other hours. And so you just kind of like find a way to make it marry and work, but it's not going to be the same schedule 365 days of the year. You know what I mean? Like you can look at things in blocks and that's what we would do. Like we were staying with my parents for a period of time. Our gym schedule and our eating schedule and our work schedule looked like this. Then we transitioned to North Carolina where it's not the same. Like access to certain resources are very different. So we need to align our work schedule and our training schedule differently for that. But we talk about it. Like we're like, okay, what is the next? And a lot of times it's what's the next morning going to look like? Because that's going to help start our day.
And when we don't, it's stressful.
If you don't, you will make your life so much harder.
Yeah. You may not even realize it. If you're not doing it on a regular basis, you're just thinking life sucks. It's hard. Like life is so hard. But like if once you start trying to take control over things and like just being intentional with things, it's becomes a lot easier and just don't take it for granted.
I had to set times for things too, because I'd be like, I want to do these 10 things. Yeah. And then it's noon and I'm like, well, I got like 3 things done. So setting up time blocks, I think is very helpful too, of like being very realistic and don't do what I did and make it like the shortest time blocks to do things. Like I did that one time. I had a Google Calendar and I filled every single square block, specifically like commuting this half an hour. And if I got stuck in traffic, then my whole day was like off and I was so stressed out because of this arbitrary schedule that I'd made myself. So now I learned to budget in extra time so that I have that flexibility. If something happens, I can still get it done. But if I end up with extra time, a lot of times I'll have like a list and I'll be like, okay, my extra time, I do need to get some of these things done. What can I fill it with? And then just kind of like keep into a regiment. So,
it made me think of a song, an old classic rock song. I don't want to put my foot in my mouth and say who sang it because I might be wrong about that. Lyrics say, hold on loosely, but don't let go. If you cling too tightly, you're going to lose control. And as you were saying that, I was thinking about that. And it's like, you do have to have the loose guidelines. And I think he was talking about relationships.
No, I wrote that song about my schedule.
Sorry. But yeah, it's very important. Like, you can't control everything. Life's going to throw you some curveballs, and you have to have parameters to work within so that you feel like you're winning. And so that you can effectively plan the rest of the day, because with no guidelines, how can you decide how to do anything?
Yes.
So you need some parameters, but then you also need some flexibility, because we are going to have to respond to life.
Things come up.
Yeah.
Yes.
And ignoring that and saying, nope, I'm going to do this, I'm strong enough to do this, is just setting yourself up for failure. I promise you.
Expect interruptions.
I'm one of the most stubborn people you've ever met. And I promise you that it doesn't matter how stubborn or strong you are, life is going to prove to you that God's plan is bigger than ours.
Yeah, we don't have control the way we think we do.
Yes.
So yes, plan accordingly for interruptions. But
the goal with your systems, with creating your system, should be reducing friction, creating repeatability and sustainability, and reducing stress. Basically, right? You want to expand on that?
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Like, what can you repeat on a regular basis? I'm going to wake up at 7:00 every day. I'm going to go brush my teeth, and then I'm going to sit down and read my Bible and journal for a half hour. And then I'm going to do blah, blah, blah. And low friction. So, like, for example, the only time you can work out is in the morning, but you have to get up and go to work by, I don't know, what time? What time do people go to work?
9.
And you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh, I'm so tired. And you're like trying to pick out your clothes, and you're like, oh crap, I need to make my drink. So then you're trying to figure out, where did I put the creatine? And you're trying to make your drink. And then your dog's like outside running around chasing a squirrel, and you like can't get the dog back inside. My advice is, like, make sure you're picking your process goals or your processes with the least amount of friction. This is a big one for me in the morning. If I have stuff laid out and I know what I'm doing, I have a very successful morning. Otherwise, I'm like a zombie, and TC talks a bunch, and it just doesn't go well. So I will, if we have to go to the gym in the morning, I lay out my clothes the night before.
Don't let her kid you. She can lay her clothes out, and she still doesn't like me talking to her in the morning.
Well, that's true. That's true. But I'll know what I'm wearing, because I'm like, okay, it's leg day. I got to wear shorts. I got to wear this bra matches these shorts, and I can put this over top, and I'll pair a pair of pants. So all I have to do is get up and put those clothes on my body. And he knows.
Drink is magically made for you.
And he knows what I need in my drink. We have a bag with our supplements, so it's all right there on the table. I put my cup right
Or in the car, if we're traveling. In the car, it's all those supplements stay in that bag, whether it's on the shelf in the cupboard or whether it's in our car.
We know we need to fill our water bottles. All my stuff's in my gym bag already. Like, it just has to be simple. It has to be like a routine. If you know the dog is going to be outside running around for a good amount of time, right when you wake up, put them out there so they can go run around, so they have the maximum amount of time.
Yeah. If you make the same like pre-workout drink, put it in get one of those little funnel scoopy things.
Yeah, you could do that too.
But yeah, and yeah, just the more things that you can set yourself up for to reduce friction and to reduce decision making, right? In the moment, we don't want to make decisions. We only want to make decisions beforehand as much as possible, right?
Yeah.
And definitely when it comes to our processes as an aspiring insert here, whether it's athlete or musician or whatever it is, like we need that. So
yeah, we want to reduce stress and decision load 100%. So make it as simple and as outlined for yourself as possible.
Yeah. And if you know you make better decisions in the afternoon, that's when you need to make your decisions and set yourself up for the next day. And then the next day, you're just moving on autopilot. And then you know that by the time you get home from the gym, you already know that you've gotten up, you've made your bed, you've had your coffee or your drink or whatever, you've gone to the gym, you've done your mobility, you're dressed, your hair and makeup is done, and you get back and you're eating breakfast and you're ready to start your day because everything is done up to that point. So
after dinner, I make my plan for the next day.
Yeah, and then we sit down and we talk because there's no work after dinner. But not all the time. Sometimes you got to work after dinner. But generally speaking, that's what we try to do is we try to finish our work by dinner time. We eat dinner and then we sit down with each other and we talk about whatever's on our mind. Sometimes it's about work and about athletes. Sometimes it's about what the next day is going to look like. Sometimes it's about ourselves as athletes. Sometimes it's about all my crap that we're trying to get rid of. So it's like, I think it's very important, like Chris was saying, to slow down and to reevaluate all these things and to just take stock. And I think that so often people don't do that. And it's not because we don't have time. It's because our time is filled with scrolling or watching TV. Probably just those two big things. I mean,
those things are okay, but like...
Yeah, in moderation, right? You watch like one episode of MasterChef in the evenings.
I do.
Generally speaking, we have to watch the same one the next night because you fall asleep halfway through it.
I watch the same episode all week.
Yeah.
Eventually I'll get to the end.
But like that's not the important thing, right? It's because we only watch one because we're sitting there talking the rest of the time. And that's so important, I think. And I think a lot of people don't talk and... they think they can do it all themselves, and you need reflection, and you need other people to help with that reflection.
Yeah, if you have a partnership, it's good to be in alignment with your partner so that you have less friction and more success moving forward, especially if you're doing a bunch of things.
And you chose that person for a reason. You value their opinion. So talk to them, get their opinion about things. You don't have to do everything that person thinks. I disagree with you all the time.
Yeah.
But I also wouldn't rather talk to anyone else about things. So,
I disagree with him too.
Even though, we can't both be right, I guess.
Okay. If you have a process in mind as well too, that is kind of already planned ahead of time, you have that buffer time in there, you kind of know what you're expecting for the next day. It takes a lot of like making decisions in the moment off of your plate. So that's less mental stress, and that's allowing you to just move forward with and listen, all of us are trying to stress less. I feel like this is just like a crazy thing that we need to keep check on a regular basis. So something simple like this can help you feel more like you're moving in the right direction and less like you have to figure it all out in that exact instance. And because we can't push 100% everywhere, right? We can't be the best at everything we ever do. Some things are going to be a little bit less. We can't run a whole day at 100% effort. So when I am going to the gym, for example, I know that that's going to require more mental and more physical effort. Then I don't know. What else do I do?
Making and eating food.
Yeah. Yes, I do not put 100% effort into cooking food. That is so true. I watch MasterChef, but I cook so that we can consume nutrients, not necessarily to enjoy it. No, it's not. It's not.
Which is funny because you love watching MasterChef.
I do.
And I try to be the Master Chef.
I know you are a better cook than I am, but like I don't
think I'm better. I think I just care more than you do.
Well, that's true.
I'm making food for you. You're making food for you. So I'm doing it for someone else. I'm doing it for my partner.
Yeah, that's true. That's
well,
true.
You see what I eat. I'll just make a piece of steak and cut it and put it on a plate.
That's true too. But yeah, so like you can't be 100% everywhere. You can't put 100% effort into everything. So
and working out, training, and growth and progress is stress mitigation.
Yeah.
Right? And like you were saying about trying to reduce stress in other areas, for every process that you dial in more efficiently, you know that your body's able to put more resources towards your aspirations, right? So for every decision that you don't have to make on a daily basis because it's already made for you and you're just moving in autopilot, you know that that energy can now go towards building muscles or getting stronger or whatever it is. So yeah, I think just like continuing, I mean, we're going to continue to harp on self-talk, but continuing to remind yourself that what you're doing is the right thing and moving in the right direction. I think is really important because these process goals are not going to tell you that you are making progress every single day of your life, unless you're only focusing on completing your process goals.
Mm-hmm. So if you're an athlete, here are some good process goal examples. Regular sleep and wake times would be a good thing to try and implement.
Mm-hmm. Whether it's weekday or weekend.
Yeah.
You don't want to deviate more than an hour.
Yes. If you need a small deviation, just say, on the weekend, I'm going to sleep until 7 because I have to get up at 5 on the weekday. I don't know. But like to be specific about it and set yourself a schedule.
I said an hour because there is some research that shows that your body can handle
I know.
And at the end of the day, like your sleep schedule shouldn't necessarily have to change. I mean, like I know sometimes sleeping in feels good, but how often do you wake up from sleeping in and say, "Oh, I shouldn't have slept in. I feel like crap. I feel lethargic. I was dreaming crazy." Right? So, and it's because your body knows, like, man, it's probably time to get up and do something.
Yeah.
So, while sometimes I think sleeping in it can feel good, I would just caution. You because then when you get back to Monday, what are you going to do? You've been sleeping in until Saturday and Sunday. You've been sleeping until 7. Sunday you're going to go to bed late. Monday you have to get up at 5 again. And you're going to be strung out. You're going to feel tired. So yeah, I mean, as far as an athlete is concerned, if you're just Joe Schmo going to work, I think that's fine.
What if you wake up at 4, but on the weekend you want to sleep in with your husband? Because he wakes up at 5.
That doesn't exist.
And so you stay in bed
Maybe the opposite of that.
until 5. No, I know a lot of women that wake up at 4.
I know. I'm just kidding. Your mom and dad is one example.
Yes. So just,
Then sit in bed and read. Right?
Yeah, you could do that.
Sit in bed and read
Yeah,
if you want to hang out with your partner.
Yeah. But regular sleep wake times would be a good one.
Yeah.
To keep your energy levels on a more consistent basis.
Again, it depends on what your top 3 values are. If your number 1 value is being the best athlete that you can possibly be, you need to have the exact sleep and wake schedule every single day of your week.
I'm just giving people.
I know. And that's why I was just saying, like you said, you can deviate 2 hours. I was saying like, probably don't deviate at all. Now I'm just qualifying that and I'm saying like, it depends on where your goals are. Deviating 2 hours on the weekend for your sleep schedule is not going to turn you into a zombie, right? It's not going to kill you. It's not going to completely derail all of your progress.
Yeah.
But Chris Bumstead is, when he's training for the Olympia, he's probably not deviating at all, right? And that's all I'm saying is like, depending on what our goals are, we just need to be intentional and we need to understand the repercussions of these things and how like certain stressors add up over time with certain things. That's all.
Okay. What other goals?
Okay, so you said sleep, static sleeping and waking times, static sodium intake, right?
Yeah.
Not dynamic. So static is unmoving.
What are
unchanging.
the lowest hanging fruit options that would make the most?
Sleep, water, protein.
Yeah, those are good. Those are good.
If I were to say 3 things, that's what I would say. And then obviously training.
Yeah.
But everyone loves training, right? Generally speaking, if you're going to say, I want to compete in a bodybuilding show, you probably like going to the gym. If you say, I want to compete in powerlifting competition, you probably like going to the gym.
Yeah.
So I would say that the 3 low-hanging fruit that people are probably not optimizing is sleep, water, and protein intake.
Yeah.
And then moving past that is carbohydrate timing and salt intake on a daily basis, I think are the next 2 things that I would say.
Okay.
And then overarching all of that would just be intensity in the gym and intentionality with that intensity in the gym, but mutinous, all that.
Okay. Yeah. So, and how would you take one of those and make it a process goal super specific?
Sure. A very easy process goal is drinking a gallon of water a day.
Okay.
Super easy, super simple. Get 1 gallon bottle, finish it before the end of the day, right?
Okay. And how can you make it, break it down from there? Like I need to drink half a gallon by noon. So I'm not drinking.
Yeah. Or you could say like 20 ounces an hour or something. You can break it down into how many hours you're up and active, right? And if you're up and active for 12 hours, you don't even have to drink 20 ounces of water per hour, right? Because that's 2 gallons.
Yeah.
That's 2 gallons of water. So
yeah, I think just making it like something that you want to achieve, is going to move you towards your goals, and breaking it down as not to a point where it stresses you out because now you're like checking the clock every 5 seconds. You're like, oh, I got to drink more water. But something like feasible. So if you have a 40-ounce water bottle, you're trying to drink that by 10 a.m.
Yeah.
Something like that. So while you're moving around, you're getting into the habit and it's becoming automatic. because that's the part of process goals is that they're automatic. Now, we're not always going to feel like doing those things because remember, our emotions are going to fluctuate, but we know that these are things that we are developing habits for, and they're things that we're doing on a consistent basis to move us forward. So we do them anyways. So the desire might not be there, but the like breakdown of how this is going to fit into my schedule is definitely present.
And protein. I would
That's a good one.
give
Yeah.
give them a range per meal.
Yes. I think that's good.
That's what I would start
Do we
with.
4 times?
Yeah. If you're not an athlete tracking your meals, like tracking your food, then yeah, I would aim for a certain amount per meal.
When I start coaching people with macros, I tell them, here's your total protein for the day. How many meals can you realistically eat? Because I think people like prep initially because, certain coaches will just tell them exactly what to do, every single detail. Like, you're going to drink a shot of apple cider vinegar, then you're going to eat flank steak and cream of rice and flaxseed oil for breakfast. And then you're going to take these capsules with that. And then after training, blah, blah. And it's like outlined so specifically that people like it because they're looking for structure. And that can be helpful. But after a period of time, like we need to know how to make our own choices. Like we need to know how, like if I don't have flank steak, what can I eat for breakfast? Like my husband ate all flank steak. What do I eat now? And so like when we teach like tracking macros, I'll say, here's your total protein for the day. How many meals can you realistically eat depending on your job most of the time? If it's 4, divide it by 4. And that's roughly how much you should be eating at each meal. Just to give like a simple breakdown.
Yeah. Yeah, that's perfect. It doesn't have to be complex.
Yeah.
I think people overcomplicate things. So KSS, keep it simple, stupid. And, like you said, pick the low-hanging fruit. Pick the things that you can easily accomplish, that you know that you can accomplish on a daily basis, build some confidence, and then start to add more bricks to the wall.
Yes.
Right? If someone walks up to me and says, what do I need to eat before my workout to get the most out of it? Man, that's a loaded question because we have multiple athletes that I would give completely different advice to. And I don't know this person, so I don't know what advice to give to this person. So I'm probably not going to say, well, first you need to start by eating 250 grams of protein a day. And then you also need to make sure that you're getting carbohydrates, just this many right before and this many right after, and get your protein right after and get salt and caffeine, blah, blah. Look, their wall's not that big. They can't afford to have that many bricks in their wall. So you start off with one at a time, right?
Yes.
Put one brick in that wall, you solidify it in place, you wait for that mortar to dry, and then you put the next one in the wall. I know that's not how you build real walls in real life, but
That's a good point, though, as like not giving yourself too many process goals to start off with.
Yes.
Because it gets overwhelming, and then we just like can't stick to anything. Like
Let yourself win.
you can choose one thing. It's okay to choose one thing that you're going to make a habit of. Like I'm going to track my steps, and for 1 week I'm going to track them, and then I'm going to set a goal the next week, and I'm going to try and hit that goal. Like, okay, I've been getting like 6,000 steps a day. I'm going to try and get 6 to 8 moving forward, and then just make that solidified into your schedule and feel comfortable. Like what does my day have to look like? I have to get up a little bit earlier and do a little bit of walking because I'm trying to do a bunch of steps at like 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah. Or I sit in a cubicle and I have to get up every 30 minutes to walk to get my steps. Or
like I know a friend of mine, she works she walks during her lunch hour to just like get some activity because she sits at her desk all day. Like what does it look like to get that habit really solidified, like you said, into your schedule? And then what's the next thing?
Yeah. Which I think a very easy one is a wake up time. Not hitting that snooze button. Eliminate the snooze button off your alarm clock if that's one of your process goals. And then if water is one of your process goals, wake up and drink 10 ounces of water, right? Room temperature water. They've shown that to be a little bit better for your stomach. And if 10 ounces is not enough, maybe go 12 to 20. I don't want you to get water belly first thing in the morning, but start off like showing yourself like this is what my day is going to be like. And immediately you are accomplishing something, getting up on time.
Yeah.
The very first thing that you do is a win. It's a success.
I do think a successful morning routine sets the pace for the day.
Yeah. Set yourself up for success. Really. That's really important.
All right, great. So, what What about, do you want to talk about SMART goals? I know this is a big thing that everyone talks about, but maybe touch on briefly.
Yeah.
SMART stands for.
Okay, so I kind of wanted to go back and just mention that.
Oh, go ahead then.
Anxiety and excitement are positive indicators.
Yeah, take us back.
I've said to you in the past, anxiety and excitement are like there's a thin gray line between them, and it's tough to make the decision to step over. But I think remembering that like we get anxious because something matters to us. It could be a very similar emotion to being excited because the time is upon us to perform. And we're going to be anxious if we don't necessarily have that confidence in ourselves. We're going to be excited if we are less fearful of this situation. And I think that, man, in any big instance, you're going to have some of both, right? Even if you're super excited, there's always going to be a little bit of anxiety in there because it is unknown. You don't know what's happening, but that's like the joy of life. It's like the risk. And that's why people get caught up in stuff like gambling, because it's like the risk right before it happens. And then if you win, it's such a big high. So, and it's the same thing with like setting goals and setting big goals. And I think a lot of people don't set goals for themselves because they don't want to feel that they fear failure.
Yeah.
And I know one of the most common things that is said in like success groups is successful people have failed more times than anyone else. They've just gotten back up and tried one more time. And that's the difference between a champion and someone else.
Well, I think that's a good point. If your goal doesn't excite you, are you really going to be encouraged to move towards it?
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. Back to SMART goals.
So you can have some emotion.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of have to, but you have to be able to use it. You have to be able to use it as a tool. It can't rule you.
Yes.
If your emotions rule you, you're not going to be very successful. So SMART goals. It's an acronym. Is that the right word for that?
I think so.
Stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time sensitive or time
based.
So basically it has to be specific. So it has to be, okay, so let me back up again a little bit. So SMART goals are outcome goals. They are generally speaking, I guess they could be process goals as well.
Yeah, you could apply it there.
So when NASM taught this, they taught it as outcome goals.
Okay.
Which I think is okay. But anyway, let's just go through this. So specific, it has to be very specific. Like you said earlier, it can't just be, I want to get healthier. It has to be something specific. I want to eat 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight every single day. Okay. You are getting healthier. But it's very specific so that you know whether or not you are accomplishing that goal. And that's a process goal, right? Because that's every day. So I guess I just put a lie to what I said. Measurable. We have to be able to measure whether or not we are successful in this goal. Achievable, attainable. It has to be realistic, right? We have to, I don't want to say, I want to be able to deadlift 1,000 pounds in 3 months when I can only deadlift 350 pounds right now. That's silly, right? That's specific, it's measurable, it's time sensitive, and it's relevant to my goals, which is the next one, but it's not necessarily achievable. The R stands for relevant. So if I'm a power lifter, I'm probably not going to say I want to run a marathon or an Ironman this year, right? Because that's going to detract from my goals as a power lifter. Now, it's not to say that as a power lifter, we are not doing any cardio. Your cardiovascular health is important, whether you're a power lifter doing 1 rep at a time, or whether you're a bodybuilder doing a bunch, or whether you're a marathon runner doing miles and miles. Your cardiovascular health is important. But your goals have to be relevant to your top 3 values. Okay. Time sensitive, time bound. So it can't just be, I want to do this eventually, because then you have no motivation to do it. There's no fire under your ass to like actually put the steps in place to bring you towards that goal. And I think that's where this kind of changes from process goals to outcome goals. Whereas, I mean, like you can say, I want to do this for a specific amount of time, but I think process goals are just kind of never ending.
Well, I would say because you do need to evaluate process goals to see if they're working. So,
Okay, yeah.
So I would look at this as
You say in this chapter of my life, this is the process goal that I want.
well. This is the example I would do.
Okay.
Okay. Specific goal is I'm going to eat 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. Measurable. I'm going to track it so that I make sure that I am hitting that goal. Achievable. I haven't been eating 3 grams of protein. You know what I'm saying? Like for me to eat 1 gram of 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight is reasonable for me because I have been eating close to that amount. I'm just locking it in. So my digestive system's not going to be like, what are you doing? So I could do it. Relevant. It's going to help me with my body composition, building muscle. I am a bodybuilding athlete, so it makes sense for me to have that practice and for my future bodybuilding goals. And time bound. So 300, I don't know. You could say like, I'm going to do this for 2 months. And maybe that's like, you do that with like each macro. That's better to do it that way. Like, I'm going to eat this way for 2 months. I'm going to see what my body looks like, what it feels like. I'm going to evaluate, and maybe I need to pull down carbs, or maybe I need to increase fat, or whatever it is to have you move towards the goal that you are working within. And like working in blocks, I think is good too. Like sometimes we have like a maintenance block, sometimes we have a building block, sometimes we have a like insulin reset block. Like we make sure that the goal at hand and the actions that we have aligned to get us there makes sense with like the SMART goal theme. So
yeah, which is probably a better definition of like the time bound thing. Like we are creating a outer parameters for this where we're going to reevaluate it, because I think it's important to reevaluate, but not too often, right? Because like we said, sometimes we can be emotional, and if something feels like it's not working, sometimes it just needs to take a little more time. And that's why it's important to have a coach, because a lot of people will make nutritional changes when they shouldn't be making nutritional changes yet.
I would agree.
They get too impatient.
Yes.
So yeah. Okay. So I think that was a really good example for the protein, by the way.
Posing practice was my other example.
Yeah. And I think like having different goals, having different process goals and outcome goals are important the higher you progress in any industry, right? Or any field or niche or whatever you want to say. So like the higher you get in a bodybuilding stage, the more you have to like know exactly where you're going, and then be able to describe the process goals that are going to get you there. Right. So like as a Gen Pop person, you can probably say as your outcome goal that you want to get healthier, but then you have to create the process goals that are going to get you there. And it's okay that they're not super acute, because your goal isn't super acute and demanding.
Yeah.
Right. If you say I want to be Mr. Olympia, you better lock yourself in for the next 10 to 15 years and understand that you are going to do a lot of muscle contractions and protein digesting. And you have to be ready to be able to do that, and to maintain your eye on the process goals, and to not get demotivated by the outcome goal not having happened yet, blah, blah, blah. So it's important to understand that we are not here just saying, don't make any outcome goals. You should know where you want to go in your life, but you should also not let that emotional outcome goal rule your everyday activities. Well, everyday mentality, I mean, right? That's what I want to say.
Yeah. Well, I think
it should rule your activities.
Like for right now, thinking about my clients, like a lot of their outcome goals are they want to be better. They want to be better than they were last time they stepped on stage. That's great. And then it's broken down into like more bite-sized pieces of like, I want to do well on a regional level stage, and then evaluate for what the next goal is. You know what I'm saying? Like you can have long-term goals, but you also have to evaluate them reasonably in like reasonable time frames. And
Yes.
so like we can't like that's why the SMART goals are important. Like I want to win my pro card this year, and you like historically like you haven't been to nationals yet, or you've been there and they've told you like you need a lot more mass and you took 1 year to build, and it's just like not like the process isn't in alignment.
Yeah.
So I think I am very thankful. A lot of our athletes have been very objective about like their bodies and like what is happening on stage and where they need to be competitive. And that's something that I definitely had to learn as an athlete when I started working with you, because I was definitely not objective. I didn't know what I was doing, and then I was like a big dreamer, and then I just like, well, then I was lost because I was like, well, none of this is working. But then being more objective and concrete has helped, and I think a lot of the athletes have adopted that, and it makes it exciting because like we can do something, like we can. This is possible,
Yeah.
and it's just a matter of following it until you get to that ultimate goal. You're on your way.
Yeah, I think a lot of people try to skip steps too.
Yeah.
Right. Like you said that, I want to win my pro card, but you didn't even place at nationals yet. Right. And it reminds me of this picture that I've seen of like this guy he's like his left leg is on the bottom and then his right leg is like 6 steps up and he's like in a split basically. And then usually it labels the steps as like, whatever it is for that specific meme. But yeah, I think understanding that like, taking it one step at a time, and hey, if you can skip a step every once in a while, that's fine.
That's not bad.
But generally speaking, people don't go from 7th to 9th grade. They go 7, 8, 9.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think understanding that like that is what you should expect to do. And if you have a pleasant surprise along the way, fantastic. That's great. But we shouldn't expect that because that's setting ourselves up for failure.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Which they've done research on like expectation before a fall versus no expectation before a fall. And people are more upset when they had a higher expectation and they failed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
It's a much bigger letdown.
100%. That's definitely, I've experienced that. Just having the idea that like, I don't know.
Yeah. You thought you were going to do well and you come in
Oh
last
my
place.
gosh. I was like sure that I was going to do well.
Yeah.
And then I came in last and I was like, wow, what a huge, I fell down.
Yeah.
But it's okay. Those experiences teach us a lot of things, and that's what it's about. It's like who you become in the process.
Yeah. So, all right, babe, you want to talk about some habit building?
Sure. Okay. So we want to think about sometimes just integrating something new into our lives can feel daunting. So we want to think about what habits we have established already. You have to wake up and let the dogs outside. So what can you pair with that's going to be a habit that's helpful in moving you towards your goals? So I'm going to get up, let the dogs outside, and I need to make a greens drink. I don't know, something like that. Or like you said, drink a glass of water. That's going to be pairing an existing habit with something like a new integration, but it has a partner. So it's not like I'm going to wake up and drink like 20 ounces,
something completely
20
new.
ounces of water. I don't know where that's going to fit in my day because I've already have the system in place. We know where it fits now. And a lot of times like there's like a 3-part process you can think of as like having a trigger, having the process, and then having the form of measurement. So I've heard someone give the example of you sit down and you eat a meal. As you're sitting down eating the meal, you pull out your MyFitnessPal app and you start tracking it. So now you've like partnered a habit with eating. You got to sit down and eat. And then every time, as you're entering in the information in there, you're now also measuring because your goal is to eat so much protein a day. So you're eating, you pull out your app, you track it in there. That's a lot of what I've done in the past. And it's measured. So like just kind of like getting in the habit of pairing things together, I sometimes can help it be a little smoother as far as transition.
Yeah. Or if you go to the bathroom in the morning and that's your morning time, you can map out your day's macros.
Yeah, you could do that too.
Yeah.
Just plug them in there and kind of know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. So it's nice, quiet time. You're not going to be being talked to. You can kind of play around with your macros a little bit, see what you want to eat that day. And generally speaking, if I do that, I'll leave a couple hundred calories so that I can play around with some snack foods or something. But generally speaking, you know the vast majority of what you're going to be eating. Mm-hmm. So you can put your breakfast, your lunch, your dinner in there from yesterday, and then you can figure out what kind of snack foods you want today.
Yeah.
So.
And if you're using apps that are helping you track habits or like are integrated into the process goals that you're implementing, definitely have them on your home screen. Because if they're right in front of your face, we're always looking at our phones. It's going to be a really easy reminder to like, oh yeah, I have to do that.
Yeah.
As you're, rather than having to scroll across and find out.
Make sure it's easier to get to than your social media.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Like what's most important to you should be on that front home screen. And then there's other things you can do to kind of like put reminders up. Like some people put reminders on the fridge. Like I historically used to have a calendar on my desk and then I hung it on the wall for a little bit. But I would give myself like a gold star if I achieved like the process goal that I was trying to implement, because I wanted to have a gold star on every single day of that calendar. And it was like hitting a step goal. Because I really hate step goals. So it had to be something that was like challenging for me that that equally had like an exciting reward. And because I just don't like, I was an A student, so I just want a star on every single page of this stupid calendar. It was motivating to me, and I could see it, like, and I could see like, okay, look, there's a whole row, the whole week I got stars. I need to fill out the next one. And it was upsetting to see like a day that didn't have a star. Like it was motivated. Like, oh man, I gotta really do it. So yeah, if there's reminders you need to have in front of you, I know people do talk about vision boards, and they can be very helpful for people. Sometimes having a visual representation, because we do dream in like images and not just like sentences, you know what I'm saying? So having like a visual representation can be motivating. We just want to have like things in a place where we're being reminded on a regular basis.
That's great.
I think a lot of this stuff we also already kind of talked about, like making decisions in advance.
Yeah. Yep.
Emotional resistance, kind of avoiding that by implementing structure.
Yep. Checking in.
Oh, yeah. I like the check-in process because I do feel like it forces reflection for people. I think women do much better with this than men. But I have women that will continue to do check-ins even through like a really tough season where they're really not like maybe 100% on top of like all their goals. They're like really struggling because they've moved or they've had a job change, or they're overwhelmed because their whole like life routine has been interrupted, but they'll still send me a check-in because it allows us to take inventory on a regular basis. It forces that reflection time that we say is really important. And most of the time they'll tell me a problem, and then and at first it's like they're just telling me the problems, but then after like a period of time where we're doing conversing back and forth, I'm sending a Loom video back, they're starting to now tell me the problem, but they're sharing the solution with me as well. Like they're like, oh, this has been like kind of an inconvenience, but I decided to do this. So like it's that exercise of like taking the time to slow down, figure out what you have going on, and then implementing an appropriate change so that you can continue moving forward. Because no one likes to report they're failing every single week. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I like it. I think it's a good exercise.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that when it's something like bodybuilding, it takes a very long time to do, right? And I think a lot of people, well, there's that saying that people underestimate what they can do in the long term and overestimate what they can do in the short term. And then they get disgruntled and unhappy because it's not happening fast enough.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, with things like bodybuilding or powerlifting or pretty much any big aspiration in general, it's going to take longer than we want for it to take. And having these like short-term check-in points and wins, I think can help keep people motivated to continue to progress.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's important when you're like for bodybuilding, when you're dieting and the scale's not moving, you're still like, okay, well, like I did check these boxes. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Then it's your coach's job to like evaluate the situation and make changes if necessary, or to kind of like do your own self-evaluation. I'm doing this, but I'm also doing X, Y, and Z, and this could be the issue. You know what I'm saying? Or in an improvement season, I think it's super helpful because we can feel like we're just on this like unending in this unending desert of not knowing like, am I building muscle? And like I'm used to being lean now I just kind of don't know what's going on. Like, does it really matter if I eat 140 grams of protein or 130 grams of protein? Like, you can get just like lost in the like what really matters, because there's no immediate feedback on a regular basis of like winning or failing. And I think like just having, for me, like adopting these things that like these are non-negotiables. And when I have let these things slip, I notice a difference. So like I feel my best when I do this, and I know these things are also moving me towards my athletic endeavor. So I think process goals can be also very helpful in an improvement season where, you know, you don't have to do everything 100% perfect, but the things that matter need to be checked. So keep going.
I think that's great. Yeah, I think it's very easy to get lost in improvement season. I think having multiple metrics of progress is important too, right? So it's not just the scale weight. It's not just how we look. It's also how we're moving. It's also how we're feeling.
Yes.
How strong we are.
Yeah.
And that was one of the changes that we made in the past, I don't know, 2 to 3 years, is that for our bikini athletes, we've taken more of a strength approach to their growing season, because we've seen that people need something to focus on especially when we're reversing out from a show.
Yeah.
When all you see is your hard work disappearing as a bodybuilder, you see those lines going away, and all you're thinking is that you're moving backwards, right? Whereas when we can shift that focus to, okay, now it's time you're not going to be starved anymore. Now we're going to let the reins loose on your training a little bit. We're going to start pushing the weight. We're going to have fun again. And as you're reversing out of that show, your intensity and your performance in the gym is increasing in direct correlation to your calories and maybe your body fat, right? Probably not your body fat, maybe your body mass, I'll say, because we're going to be gaining muscle and body fat during this time. So yeah, I think just being able to give yourself wins in different areas becomes incredibly important to perpetuating progress.
Right. Having a goal in each season, I think, is important.
Yeah. Yeah. Otherwise, you only want to compete in bodybuilding, right? You only want to step on stage, or because you only want to be skinny, and you don't want to reverse out because you're afraid of getting fat. So it's like a lot of decisions that humans make are based in fear. And I think understanding that and then trying to digest, what am I afraid of? And then moving forward with that decision-making process, I think, is important. So,
yeah, I think for me, especially like when you have extra energy in an improvement season, strength is a fun one, because you're like, wow, like, especially for women, I think we don't realize, you're pretty strong. Like, I think that we don't realize how strong we can be. So kind of like learning the technique of a lift has been exciting for me, because I'm like, okay, like, I know if I lock in this technique, I'm going to be even stronger. And if I master how to move my body most efficiently, I can bring that awareness to other lifts. And also like mobility. Like, I have people that, man, when you are dieting, you just have like all your energy is towards like waking up, getting the processes done, and then getting to bed. Like, any extra effort, sometimes in just like standing up, is annoying. So mobility activity, while very helpful, a lot of times goes to the wayside, and then we start ending up with some like forward rounded shoulders I see in a back pose, or we have
back pain,
hip instability from right to left because we could pose on one side in our bikini pose. We have low back pain because we're doing this low back arch all the time, and we've lost engaging our abs is a lot of energy. So we've kind of like gotten lackadaisical with that. So when we're in an improvement season, we should be focusing on those things. Like those are good goals to like, okay, I'm going to get the strongest, the most control of my core as I possibly can because I have the energy to do that. And
then it requires less energy when you're in prep because you've done the work. Yeah,
because you've taught yourself how to do it. So it's more automatic when you get into a dieting phase and you're like, wow, I already know how to do this. So yeah, I think like shifting goals is important. I do believe going like gas pedal to the ground all the time with like these really high goals can lead to burnout. So you do need to allow time to like recover. But if you're a goal-oriented person, you crave having something to shoot for and you almost feel lost if you don't have anything. So just making sure it's in alignment with the seasons that you have in place.
Yeah, which is an important note that your systems have to adapt, right? They have to adapt to different chapters of your training. They have to adapt to different chapters of your life. They have to adapt to different, demands that your life is putting on you at any given time. And we have to be aware enough to be able to make those changes when we need to make them, right? So from an athlete's perspective, we need to slow down enough to be able to give proper feedback to the coaches. And from a coach's perspective, we need to be digesting the information as it's given to us, not as we want to see it, right? Because I think that's often there is like, we'll see something and, have a certain opinion about it, but it might be based, from something else. So
I think that's a good point too.
Yeah, I think just being careful about that is important. And then, one of the last bullet points you have on here is identity focus. So I am someone who trains consistently instead of I want to be Mr. Olympia.
Yeah.
Right. Creating that identity, right? And we've already established that repeated beliefs are what help to cement this identity in ourselves. And one of the easiest repeated behaviors that we can do is self-talk, right? So making sure that we are talking to ourselves in a way that will bring about success is important. And I think that, people talk way worse to themselves than they do to strangers. And just act like you're a stranger. And how would you talk to this person if you were trying to encourage them towards their goal? You would not say, you're lazy, you're fat, just because you got up 5 minutes late or you sat in your car for 10 minutes before you walked into the gym. All right, you lazy piece of crap. Like, it's time to go into... No. You're here. You're at the gym. You're just getting yourself ready. And I think being very, very careful with these things because they add up and you don't even realize it.
Yeah, I think shame-based self-talk is not productive. Some people, they'll vouch for like, well, I'm just keeping myself in check and, and maybe you've been the recipient of, a figure in your life who has like treated you that way. So that's how you know to be motivated. But if our goals are linked so much to our identity, if we're speaking to ourselves in that way, it's not encouraging us to make change. It's not encouraging us to change. It's, someone only likes to be talked to that way for so long. And then they get to a point where they're like, I don't need to listen to this anymore. So if you speak to yourself, with, any
kind of negativity.
You're going to, TC uses the analogy, you feed, or whatever dog you feed grows. So if you are speaking that way to yourself, you're feeding that identity.
You got a good dog and a bad dog in your head.
Yeah. So I think it's important to be objective and to like analyze what we're doing and what needs to change. But we also have emotions attached to goals. So we want to make sure that we're speaking to ourselves with, in a voice that would be that the best version of yourself would be like hearing, what I'm saying? Like the highest level elite athlete of Chris Nicole would not be saying, oh my gosh, you got so fat because, you ate an extra bowl of granola last night.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. One of the things that I say, and I've always said it, is there's always more. And we've talked about how you said, well, that could be demoralizing because you feel like you're never doing good enough. And that's only if you have a negative aspect to that statement. In my head, there's no negativity attached to there's always more. It's only excitement and the knowledge that no matter how high I go, I can do more. God has given me this amazing capability, and the only limiting factor in my life is time. How much time do I have to cultivate this? Because it can go as far as you want to take it. People generally get bored and they move on. And that's why they stop. But that's why records continually get broken, is because that's not the end of human potential. That's the end of that person's motivation, right? John Hack, he was the number one 83 lifter in the world. And in the USAPL, he decided to move into the untested division. He put on some weight, and that's where he's competing now. Now 83s have blown his old total out of the water. Now he's still probably the most respected lifter. Like if you say John Hack to a powerlifter, they know who you're talking about. So that wasn't the end of his human potential. It was just where he chose to stop that journey. And I think that remembering that is powerful, because no matter where you are, it's not a stopping point. It's not a sticking point. It's where it's either you're going to choose to keep going, or you're going to choose to stop right here. And the power is in your hands. And, when I deadlifted 805, I was excited about it. What did I tell you? I want to deadlift 1,000 pounds. Mm-hmm. There's always more. There's always more. And I wasn't upset with myself because it was only 800 pounds. I was still happy. I was still stoked. But now I know, like, okay, well, if I can do that, I know I can do this. And if I can do this, I know I can do that.
So what if we said, or what if it was just said to me, instead of there's always more, you are capable of more?
That's what it's saying. That's what I'm saying.
That resonates with me.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I was going with this, is instead of sitting there and saying you're a lazy piece of shit, say, we can do better.
Oh yeah. That's good. Okay.
This is okay. I know that I can do better than this, and I will do better than this.
Yeah. Okay.
So because it's maintaining that power. And we've talked about that before, right? If you blame someone else for your situation, you're giving them power over you and your situation.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Don't give away that power. Maintain that power. And if you say I am capable instead of I am lazy, that's what you're reinforcing in your brain.
Right.
So just be careful about what you're reinforcing.
Because you're coaching yourself.
Mm-hmm. Like if you're part of our pack, you know that we coach heavily in intentionality. Be intentional with what you're doing, with what you're saying, with what you're feeling. Be very intentional with how you're talking to yourself. Just as intentional as you would be if you're like talking to a boss, or if you're a car salesman, if you're talking to a customer and you're trying to get them to buy this car. Like, how would that person talk to that person? He's not going to call them lazy. He's not going to say anything and he's not going to say anything negative to this person they want to buy a car from them, So like, sell yourself that car, sell yourself this dream. Like, tell yourself, I am capable. I can do this. I'm strong. I can do better. I can push harder. Not to bring yourself down, but to allow yourself that potential outcome.
I think that's a good way to reframe it. Yeah, I think that's really good. So we touched on a lot today. Goals, some goal setting, some identity aspects, process goals. If you guys have any questions or you want like more elaboration on a specific aspect, you can definitely reach out to us. The easiest way is probably through our Instagram, which is @reckless_training. If you're interested in personalized coaching, we are working with, very excited for our athletes this year. We have some great powerlifters. We have some amazing bodybuilding athletes. We're also helping a lot of people that just want to institute healthy habits into their life. Just what is it? How much, like silly questions, like how much protein should I eat? Like how often should I train? If I do this type of cardio, will this build this muscle? Like, there's just like a lot of information out there in the fitness industry, and we really pride ourselves on educating and personalized coaching to help you figure out what fits into your lifestyle that gets you to your goals and makes you the best version of you. So, whatever your aspirations are, if you're interested in personalized coaching, we are available for free consults to see if we're a good fit. You can, again, find us on Instagram, or you could message us. Our website is recklesstraining.com.
Yeah. And if you were saying if you have any questions, you can reach out. We do a weekly live stream every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Definitely feel free to tune in there.
That's on Instagram.
It'll be on Instagram. It's at the reckless_training Instagram page. It's every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we, generally speaking, have topics. But if you hop on there and ask a question, we're going to do our best to answer it.
Yeah. Or we'll prepare that question for the next live. But
we'll
we
make
like
another.
Interaction. Feel free to jump in and join us. We love being with people in the industry because we learn from you guys too. So yeah, definitely feel free to join. And I think that's it. Take us out.
As always, work hard, stay humble, and train reckless.